Hello, 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 everybody. It's your girl Ashley, the amateur expert, and we're coming to you live today for this episode of Talk Tuesday. It is International Women's Day, so happy Women's Day to everybody. I'm super excited to be joined today by my aunts, and so I know we're probably gonna cut up a little bit, but we're gonna get to the nitty gritty, and I'm excited for you all to learn about her journey and to be inspired by her as well. So she is in the chat, and so we are going to get started. Hello, everyone joining. Let me know where you're joining from in the chat. Where are you from? Here. Let's see. Accept. Hello, Aunt Joy.
Hey, beautiful niece. How are you?
I am well. How are you? Happy International Women's Day.
Yes, yes.
I'm so happy to be doing this with you today. And I didn't even realize that when you had signed up that this was the day. So I love that we're doing this today. It's great synergy, great synergy.
Absolutely.
So I want to jump right in. I want you please to introduce yourself, tell us who you are and what you are doing currently for work.
So, my name is Joy Challenger Slaughter. Challenger being my maiden name, which became my middle name, Slaughter. So, I am not hyphenated. And my current work is working for the U.S. government, doing something that I never thought I would do, um, and learning how to enjoy it in the journey. I am managing a small group of tasks and projects, and so I'm not managing people this go around and enjoying the journey and figuring out what it means to be a U.S. civil servant.
I love that. And not only do you do that, you serve in other ways
Ah,
as
I do. I do. So I serve as an associate minister at the Alpha Street Baptist Church, and I lead a ministry there. I do a sundry of volunteer assignments as a minister. I write curriculum for the Sunday school. I do exegetical work for the Sunday school. Exegetical means to kind of unpack the biblical text for a moderate
Mhm.
listener. And so I'll do some exegetical work so that somebody else can write lessons.
Yeah.
I also lead the adult VBS experience now that we are virtual.
Yeah.
I'm sure I do some other things. So,
Well, we love a multi-hyphenate on the Amateur Expert podcast. So thank you. Thank you for being with us. And so I want to know when you were a little girl, what did you want to be when you grew up? And what was sort of the motivating factor behind that?
so I think like many people of my generation, I was born in the 60s, that pretty much what we heard was what was handed down to us for career
Hmm.
ideas was
Yeah.
doctor, lawyer, maybe teacher, but
Hmm.
to a large extent, doctor and lawyer, because that seemed to be the epitome of success, at least within my small realm of the world coming from Connecticut. I
Yeah.
think children today have a much more vast vision. So for me, I first wanted to be a doctor.
Okay.
And at some point along the line, I figured out, huh, I did some advanced classes. And while I could keep above water, I couldn't
Hmm.
excel at it.
Mm.
And I'm pretty competitive and I like to be good at the things I do. And I figured out that that kid just did that equation so much faster. And we haven't even begun med school. And I was pretty intuitive to know that
Hmm.
I would have probably struggled through. Now, my
Yeah.
friends in med school who went through med school was like, no, you struggle through like the rest of us. But at some point, I pivoted, said maybe sciences are not for me just because
Yep.
I'm not the superstar of the sciences.
Yeah. No,
And
that's great.
so,
And go
go
ahead. I'm
ahead.
sorry. I was just
No,
going to say, my freshman year at UConn, I thought I was going to be a dentist, and that Cam 101 let me know that it wasn't it for me. So it's the
correct.
intuition that you have to know that.
Right. And so while I didn't fail anything, I knew that I wasn't a superstar. So then I went on this journey of exploration to kind of figure out what I would be and become.
Hmm.
And I joined Inroads. And so it was business and industry that became my focus.
Yeah.
And my first career was a result of my internship with uh, first I was with IBM, and I
Okay.
figured out very quickly that software development wasn't for me. I actually like to do the work with the customer. But back then, you couldn't do user experience work, which we can do now.
Yeah.
Back then, you had to spend about a decade coding so that you could promote up through the ranks to get to the kind of stuff that I had the personality and the business acumen to do, but not necessarily to be the superstar coder. And again, since my theme, since I couldn't be good at it, we had to move right along. And so I ended up doing it on business and loved it. And so that's what I wanted to be. And I think the motivating factor was to be successful, whatever that meant. I don't think it was quantifiable in my mind at the time, but to be
Because
successful.
I was going to ask you, like, well, you said that what was passed down to you was to have a certain level of success. You had to be, have one of these, doctor, lawyer, maybe teacher career. So maybe it was just like stability or, being able to take care of your family when you decided to have one. Okay, so
I
you
think I
shared
will
it.
say this, and I will say, handed down, not necessarily from my mother or my father or anything, right? They were pretty much there to support whatever my vision was. But I just think from teachers and people at church and everything like that, because if they figured out that you had a little bit of smarts, what was necessary was you must go to college. That was non-negotiable. What you did beyond that, a lot of those people couldn't give me a roadmap because they themselves hadn't gone that road. And so my grandfather made tires, my father was a truck driver, and my mother worked at a medical practice. And so none of them had been to college, so there weren't any people to teach me and guide me.
That's good. That's good. I wonder if you can share with us. So, you didn't really have an idea of success then, or wasn't able to quantify it. Are you able to do so now? How do you define it today?
Good. And I would push back slightly. What I was trying to say is I didn't have a correlation to a particular career to define success. Oh, I very
Okay.
much had an idea of success.
So, what do you think success
To
was? Because you said you
have
were
a nice,
competitive. Mm-hmm.
yeah, right. So, right. Not that I didn't have an idea of success, but I didn't think that if I didn't become a doctor, I couldn't be successful.
Got it. Okay. So yeah. So
And
when you
so,
were younger, what did you think success was? And then let's pivot to has it changed?
okay, that's fair enough. So when I was younger, I think it was being good enough to distinguish myself amongst my peers, right?
Mm.
Successful. And successfulness in high school was therefore good grades.
Mm-hmm.
I think as I looked at persons who were successful, who were adults, who had their life under control, because I mean, everybody I knew had a house, so having a house wasn't a sign of success.
Mm-hmm.
Having a lot of money wasn't a sign of success, but was nice.
Yep.
But
Added bonus.
right, added bonus. But since my baseline was we had a home, I didn't really expound to have a mansion because that just wasn't within my purview. So it wasn't about finances per se, but to
Mm-hmm.
have a good, healthy family, to have friends, to be healthy, to have
Yeah.
good socializations. How that has changed, not a whole lot, which means I
Okay.
made some career choices that would make some scratch their head because at some point I made an intentional decision to be financially downward mobile in order to follow purpose.
Mm.
And so if my
Let's talk
success
about
was
that.
based on, yeah, right. So let
Let-
me finish the sentence. So if my the success model was based on finances only, I never
mhm.
would have done that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so let's talk about making that decision because I think a lot of times it's hard to do.
oh yeah, it is. So I left corporate America. It was around, was it 99? No. No, 99 is when I moved to Chicago. So it was 2001-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2001-ish. And I went to seminary because as I was doing ministry while working by day and doing
Mm-hmm.
ministry at night, and we're having this full circle moment that we'll get to later, I was working corporate America by day. I was an insurance executive and I was doing youth ministry at my local church in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And before I was in Cleveland, I was in Connecticut, and I got a prophetic word that, oh, you're supposed to do this. And I was like, okay, cool. But I still didn't think that meant quit my job.
Mm-hmm.
And then while I was doing youth ministry one night, I literally heard the audible voice of God twice in my life. It was clear, can't deny it. And he was like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I was like, oh, okay, well, Jesus, you do know I got a lot of debt. If you can get me a job, help me pay off this debt, then it's on and popping. And so God took
Right.
me at my word.
Mm-hmm.
Gave me like a $30,000 raise, which was a lot of money back then.
Mm-hmm.
Moved me to Chicago, and I continued to follow him into seminary. And so when I got out of seminary, it was very tempting because all of my colleagues were like, come back to work. We got this position in New York. We got this position in Chicago. If you don't want to stay in Chicago, we can send you back home. So we've got positions for you.
Right.
And I had to make a deliberate choice not to go back to what I knew I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And for years, I carried around the boxes of if I had to retool that career, I had everything I needed in these 2 boxes. And then those boxes got down to 1 box, 1 big box, and then 1 small box. And now I just want to put a match to it. It's in my cousin's garage in Bowie, and I don't even need to go through it because I'm not going back. So, yeah. So making that choice was a deliberate will. And 6 months after seminary, it took me 6 months to get a job. And so I did like 4 jobs because I was like, this is what the Lord said I'm supposed to be doing. This is what my purpose is.
Yeah.
So I only applied to the things that fit within my purpose.
Oof.
And then I was making less than half of what I made before seminary. I think a third, making maybe a third to a half of what I was making before.
And I think that's so good because through it all, God provided. It didn't look like what you thought it would look like, you know, like, and what, like you said, you had to make the deliberate choices not to go back to what was, right? Like you completed the assignment, so to speak, right? It's like, all right, God, I did what you told me to do. Now let me go back to living this life that I wanted to live. And it's like, no, we're going forward. We're moving this way.
Right. And forward was the life I wanted to live. And I never regretted it. Although the enemy tried to dangle carrots of jealousy in front of me on the backside of that journey, because thinking about what my 401k would have looked like had I stayed on the trajectory that I was on. And I was like, and after like a half a minute day or so of hearing that, I had to kind of just speak truth to myself about what I did and why I did and who I follow and whose life my hands are in, and how much I have to trust that my choice to follow will not be unpinning. And so maybe the 401k is not as thick as some of my peers, nowhere near. But I wouldn't take back that decade for anything.
That's so
and
beautiful.
God is the redeemer of time. I'm standing on that scripture.
Amen. 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 Okay, so tell me this. How do you define success today?
I think it's somewhat constant. I think I wouldn't voluntarily choose downward mobility at this stage because I'm closer to retirement. And so you have to make different choices, because I don't want to be talking about walking to Walmart when I'm in my 70s. No offense for people who do that, get out the house. I want to excel at what I do and be good at it, and be competitive. I want to have a brand in whatever I'm doing that's known to be quality and sought after. Success for me still means having kind of an inner knowing that you're doing what you're supposed to do. Like there was something intuitive about a younger Joy who knew to dismiss certain things that looked good. Case in point, later in my adult life, I thought about applying to law school. And there was a few times in life when I was going to apply to something that I had the skill to do, but I didn't feel called to do it. And I think that's the danger for a lot of people who are smart. I know too many people who have 2 and 3 masters because it took them 2 or 3 programs to figure out what they were called to do. So how would I define it? An ability to impact and change and transform lives. First starting in your own home, then the wider village of your family, and then certainly in your community and the institutions in which you serve, whether they're public or private or entrepreneurial. The ability to impact lives for change, for me, is how I define success. But I think that's also largely tied to how I understand my purpose. Having your bills paid, maybe.
Listen.
Listen, it's successful because you're free. And so the success is not because the bills are paid. It breeds success because you are not making choices for the wrong reason or stressed out because you don't have a good handle of your finances. So for me, I do define success as having a good handle of my finances, which mostly means living within our means, whatever they are. If you're
Yeah,
making
no,
30, live within 30.
that's it. That's it. If you're making 10 or whatever it is right now,
Yeah.
live within the means. Okay, so something that you mentioned, and these are off the question. These are not the questions that I had sent you, but something that you've
Okay.
mentioned a few
Mm-hmm.
times was um, being called
Mm-hmm.
and knowing your purpose and making decisions based off of that.
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of us at different stages in our lives, we struggle with knowing or feeling secure in what our purpose is,
Mm-hmm.
because there are societal pressures. There are, especially in the world of social media, it's so easy to compare and think, align yourself with brands or people or things that aren't really for you. So I wonder if you can share just sort of how you knew or how you knew what your purpose was.
I think purpose is mostly aligned with what brings you joy and what brings light and life. And I'm not riffing off of the author who get rid of stuff that don't bring you joy. I'm riffing off of a life that's deeply spiritual and
Mm-hmm,
connected to the divine. And
mm-hmm,
so, if you're a follower of some kind of spiritual discipline in your life,
mm-hmm,
uh, my primary course is Christian, right? But I've seen this in some of my Muslim counterparts, and I've seen it in my Jewish counterparts. So let's just say if you follow a spiritual lifestyle and discipline upon which you govern your life and your choices,
mm-hmm,
then I believe as you are in union with that, you can figure out what you're called to do. Some people, it is to be a teacher, and
mm-hmm,
okay, yes, you could go and be a business person making a lot more money, but you feel called to the classroom.
mm-hmm,
And so success for you will be following that because you'll have the things that you need.
mm-hmm.
There was a school teacher I read in it was either the Detroit Free Press or the Chicago Times, I think years ago. I think it was Chicago Times. I was on a train. And it was this this was this factory worker who had donated $1 million to a historically Black university. $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So do we really have to make a lot
Mm-hmm.
to have some of the things that we see? I think modern society, we spend a lot of money on a lot of stuff that doesn't matter. We have too many clothes, too many shoes. Maybe one would argue I have too many books, but I've read these. So I got 3 boxes over there that I got to give away. Anybody want Christian books? Inbox me. I got
Let
books
us
to
know.
send out. Yeah. What was the question? So,
Defining your
following,
purpose.
defining your
Define.
purpose. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a deeply spiritual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even for people who don't go to church, because I don't want, if you're out there and you're trying to figure out purpose, does it help to be connected to divine? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It makes hearing easier. But there are people who are
Yeah.
finding purpose who are not connected in any significant or obtuse way. Uh,
Yeah.
so for me, ability to impact change, have my bills paid is successful for me, and build wealth for the next generation. That's what I want to do. I don't want to just get by where I can get
Mm-hmm.
by. How can I, again, making that impact, right? I want to be to the level where I'm giving to the next generation. I want to give according to how I purpose in my heart.
Mm.
And that means I need to be free. And so I define financial freedom as a piece of the success beyond the purpose,
I
not
love that.
cars and house and all that other stuff. Although I like nice
Yeah.
stuff. I like a nice car. I get that from my daddy.
Yes. Yes. I agree. I agree. Riding in luxury. Okay. So tell me this. What is something that you know now that you wish you had known
Mm,
sooner in your career?
that I know now that I know sooner. That I would have more than one career and that purpose can take different looks at different phases of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And um, to bet on joy always,
Mm.
because I'm a server, so sometimes I spend too much on others and not enough on
Mm-hmm.
me. And that's time, energy, creativity, faith. Um,
Can I pause you right there?
mhm.
Because I feel I do the same. So how do you find the balance? Since you said something that
Prepare for
you
this to be a cell phone conversation, so I'm going to need a charger. Hold on, I'm going to yell upstairs, so I'm going to mute for a second.
okay. Bet on joy always. Yes, yes, Jess.
I was on mute, right?
Yes, you were.
Oh, okay.
No, I was reading the comments.
Okay.
I'm in the
To bet
comments.
on joy always. Yeah. So, and I think people who would look at my life think that I did. Like, I left home and moved to a part of the world, part of the country, not the world, I'm being dramatic now, part of the country that I didn't know anybody. And I've done that every time. And
Mm-hmm.
so I've always moved to a new place. And so I knew how to be courageous and everything else.
Mm-hmm. So
But
finding
there's
the balance.
finding the balance. No, and I push myself, but I don't know how to quantify this. Let me see if I can do it in 10 to 15 seconds. What I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to say, baby, can you plug this in for me? What I'm trying to
Hey, Uncle
say
Brian.
is that your niece says, Big says hello. So what I'm trying, because I was confident, right? I took the chances. I went to the places. I did all of that.
Mm-hmm.
There was another level I didn't tap into because I was often not, believe it or not, nobody would believe this, and there's somebody probably going to say, Joy, really, particularly your mother. But I don't know if I dreamed big enough. Because I didn't dream of the grandeur. I was just kind of doing the thing. And for me, my volunteer work always gave me so much pleasure
Mm-hmm.
that work was a means to an end. But I was being
Mm-hmm.
promoted and everything, but I didn't build my house on that. And
Mm-hmm.
so God just gave me that. But I think there's some places where I could have pushed me differently.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I needed to hear that. Okay, thank you. We'll go back to the regular schedule questions.
Regular schedule
Um,
questions.
yes, yes, yes. Okay, so tell me, um, what are some of your tips and motivators? What motivates you? How have you stayed the path?
Let's see. Uh, that's not on the script here.
It was.
So is that the one, something that you learned in our learning and knew?
No.
Is that question? Oh,
I
I
just
don't got that
asked, no,
question.
I asked you
Okay,
that
that's
one.
fine.
This one is your tips and motivators.
Oh, because I didn't give you what I had for that one. So
Oh,
just
okay, so let's go
FYI.
back. Let's
So now
rewind.
I'm trying to have it plugged in. So I guess I got to hold this thing. So that's not going to be good. Let's find a way to do
No, it's good.
this.
That was a good angle.
Okay, that's a good angle because
Yeah.
it was standing on my computer. So I'll wait till it gets to 10%. So we'll go back to where we were. I hope
Okay.
the edit man will edit this out.
He will
Take
edit it
two.
out.
Okay, all right.
Shout out to
So
Brandon.
shout out to Brandon. So what I want to say is, and these are things that the question you asked me pre-production about what have I learned and continue to learn and am learning.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that always works for me is to be kind to people,
Mm-hmm.
respect people at all ladders of society.
Mm-hmm.
For me, my first corporate America job, I would talk to the cleaning people because that was sister so-and-so or deacon so-and-so
Mm-hmm.
in church on Sunday. So I'm going to get to the workers because I'm in corporate America and not talk to them. Like, that's not happening. And
Yeah.
so I've always had a deep regard for everybody. I respect the CEO with as much regard as I do the person who's the janitor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know the name of the guy who I pass every day
Yeah.
who is just sitting there in security. Why
Yeah.
should I not know his name?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so for me, respecting people at all levels, be generous with your praise of others that work with you, for you,
Mm-hmm.
around you. Take the blame willingly when you're at the front.
Mm.
Uh, don't
That's good.
scapegoat your people
Mm-hmm.
because leaders take the hit. One of my friends said 2 decades ago, right?
That's
And
good.
so if you're at the lead and it crashes, don't blame your people in front. Take the hit and then, do a blameless postmortem and figure it out. But out in
Yeah.
front of the crowd, you take the hit. You're the leader. So those are some of the things that I would pass on for somebody. Respect people at all levels. Be kind to people, and be generous with your praise, and take ownership when it fails.
Those are all amazing, amazing, amazing. And so what motivates you besides the fact that you have this, what did you say, the streak of competition, you have competitive spirit. So what drives you? What keeps you motivated?
Yeah, and most of my competitions within my own head about who I should be and what I should
Mm,
do. Like, I'm not really interested in competing with people unless we're
mhm.
playing cards or, doing things that are meant to be competitive,
Yep,
like
yep,
playing
yep,
games and Monopoly and stuff like that. Like, I'm all
yep,
for it. I'm all in.
yep.
Basketball games, kickball. Yeah, I'm all competitive when it's meant to be competitive.
Hmm.
I'm not really interested in aggressively competing with you otherwise.
Hmm.
Um, so your question was what? Sorry.
What are some tips that you can share to
Oh, what
that
use
you
me?
right, what are tips that you can share that you have used personally to motivate yourself and to like keep you going? Like when your faith gets a little shaky, or when you were like,
Mhm.
I don't know if I should make this step, or should I bet on joy? I'm betting on joy. It doesn't seem like I should be doing like what?
Right,
How do you keep
right. Because if
going?
you're super holy, you don't bet. Oh,
Amen.
so right,
Touche,
exactly that.
touche.
Touche, touche. But I'm just fooling. I used to be super holy. Now I just a God lover and a God chaser, and sometimes that looks like traditional holiness, and other times it looks radically different.
Mm,
But the depths of my soul loves God
yeah.
without a doubt, and so the things that motivate me and keep me moving forward. Failure is
Hmm.
not an option.
Hmm.
That keeps me motivated.
Hmm.
There's nobody coming to my rescue but Jesus.
Mm,
And there are certain ways that the Lord is not coming to your rescue. Like, you need
yeah.
to get up, pay that bill, get up, go to work,
Yeah.
do the things that you have made your responsibility.
Yeah.
Get on the floor and stretch out the muscles, because after 50, it's serious, y'all. If I could tell my 30-year-old something, stretch every day.
All right. Good to know.
Good to know.
Good to know.
I think I'm motivated about creating legacy, which is hard for a person to say who doesn't have biological children.
Mm,
And uh, so, what does that legacy look like?
mhm,
And over and over, I can look at each place I lived, and whether I was in vocational ministry or was a lay minister or just a youth worker,
mhm,
I can look back at those people who are 30 and 40 now, approaching 40, my youngest group. Probably 40. They're turning 40 this year, because I started youth ministry when I was still a youth. And I see fruit in their life.
mhm,
And so, even though there wasn't fruit in my womb, I see fruit from the works of my life. And that keeps
mhm.
me motivated to keep on helping people and pouring into people and seeing lives changed. Um, I'm greatly motivated by people figuring out what God has called them to do, and where I can assist and journey with them, helping them reach that place. I
Mhm.
feel deeply called to that.
That
Um,
was beautiful.
uh,
That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
mm,
And I feel like that was a mic drop moment. So I am going to give you this opportunity to share with us how can we support you. I know that you have Facebook Lives and you do
mm-hmm.
uh, some coaching and things of that nature. So please
Yeah.
share
Okay.
where do we follow you? How do we support you? What do you have coming up?
Okay. So I'm doing a few different things coming from different areas of my life. So totally unexpected. I've been doing these live shows about relationships, because I feel like people don't have all the tools they need to have successful relationships. And
Hmm.
so I think we see
I need one of them.
Instagram. Come and join and listen. You listen to, if you're not on Facebook, you can still listen to it.
Okay.
So I feel like people don't have the skills to have successful relationships. And part of it is, in this culture, we only see the pictures on the gram and every other place and on television, and we don't know the true earnest work that it takes to
Hmm.
make relationships work. And so I'm doing that through a group called A Woman's Way. keys to lasting relationships. And I believe the tools for relationships are not just for romantic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
They are for friendships. They are for business, though we have a particular romantic bent to this show.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that. I'm on Facebook as Joy Challenger Slaughter. I am also on there as the Gro Coach, which is trying to figure out largely about how do I do what I did under the umbrella of church and ministry, coaching, teaching, developing, helping folk be and become, when that's no longer my job to do so, where I'm getting paid. And so the Gro Coach is where I sit that. And so I consult with nonprofits, parachurch organizations. I coach individuals. I am currently getting a coaching certificate to kind of facilitate a wider base for that. This particular certificate is going to be coaching people in their preaching of all things. So people who want to grow in their gift. And so it's meant to be both individual and peer group coaching, because a lot of pastors need that kind of support, because the congregation just tell you, oh, preacher, that was so good. But there's still a place. Yeah, exactly. So I do that. So I can be found on Instagram at The Gro Coach and on Twitter at The Gro Coach. So I'm just standing up those pages. And so they've been up for a while, but we'll start populating them this year with thoughts and ideas. And I'm Gro Coach on Facebook. And here on Instagram, on Joyful Joy, I also make decorative wreaths. You want one, I'll make one. They're beautiful, they're gorgeous. I make a little bit of money, but mostly it's a place where I get to be my most creative self and make pretty things to help bring light and love to people's houses. So check me out in those places. 6 months from now, I probably will have a different answer. How you can pray for me. Pray that I get a book deal.
Amen.
That I do the work to put it in a proposal. Amen. And that my family stays healthy so that I can focus and bet on joy for this next stage of the journey.
Amen. I love it. Okay, so as you know, I'm Ashley, the amateur expert, and I know a little bit about a lot. And so the last thing I need to know from you is a random fact, random tidbit of information. It could be anything.
Is it about me or just like randomness, total randomness?
Totally random. It doesn't have to be about you. Like a Snapple fact.
A Snapple fact.
Like, did you know bananas are a berry? I say that every show, but I don't think of another one.
Bananas are a berry.
But just like
a berry because it has seeds. Because they have seeds inside.
You are so smart. So smart.
But your audience is smart. Did you know? Okay. Did you know? Okay. I was going to do something from Detroit because I learned so much from Detroit people. And I married a Detroit man. So did you know that Black people could say one word and could have 50 different meanings? And if you're Black, you probably know that. Did you
Are you going to give us an example?
I'm going to skip that one. Mm-hmm. And how about this? Did you know that a Coney Island is in a place where there is no Coney Island?
No.
And that's what they call diners in Michigan. They call them Coney Islands.
I
don't know why, because Coney Island is in New York.
It's in New York.
But if you're in Detroit and good parts of Michigan, if they say, meet me at the Coney Island, you'd be looking for the beach and the boardwalk. They're talking about meet me at this diner. It's kind of my friend's father called them a watering hole. He said, God rest his soul, Mr. Hylas Barrymore, he said, every man needs to have a watering hole. And a watering hole is the place you go to eat. And if you're in Michigan, that probably is. Got to plug in. I'll say that line again for the editing man. Hylas Barrymore, God rest his soul, says that every man, or I will say every woman and man, need to have a watering hole. And if you're from Michigan, that's a Coney Island. I have mine. It's a mega. Good salads, good food, breakfast, lunch, dinner. You go to a Coney Island, you get good food. So if you're ever in the D, go to Coney Island.
Color Me Bad says they have the best chili cheese fries and chicken.
There you go. You can keep that chili cheese fries though, because at 53, it don't like me. But they are good. They are good.
A
And the
Coney Island.
chicken,
Wow.
and the chicken is like to die for. Particularly like they have a chicken that's put on a salad. So grilled chicken salad with the salad dress. It's just, yeah, it's off the chain.
Okay, so
Go
we'll
to a
have to
Coney
go.
Island.
We'll
Help
have
your
to go
life.
to a Coney Island. I love that. Thank you so much. I love you, and we
I
are
love
going
you
to
too.
talk soon. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day, and we will see you next week. God bless.